What if everything you're feeling right now, this restlessness, this emptiness, this feeling that nothing makes sense anymore, isn't a sign that you're losing control, but that you're finally waking up? If you've ever found yourself looking in the mirror and asking yourself, "Who am I really?" If you've ever grown tired of playing a role that was never yours, if you've ever felt a knot in your chest when you wake up, even for no apparent reason, this video is for you. Because what you're experiencing isn't weakness. It's not a crisis. It's awakening. And the most surprising thing, you're not alone. Millions of people around the world are going through exactly the same silent process, and few have the courage to talk about it. In this video, you'll understand why everything seems to be falling apart, even when everything looks fine on the outside, what really happens when the ego begins to crack, and why this is a sign of maturity, not collapse. How the emptiness you feel isn't an abyss, but a sacred space being prepared for something new. And above all, why you are already exactly what you're looking for, you just forgot. If you watch until the end, something will change. Not because I'm going to give you ready-made answers, but because at some point you'll recognize yourself. And this recognition could be the first step back home. Stay with me. Take a deep breath and prepare yourself. You won't leave this video the same way you entered. Have you ever felt something inside you unraveling? Not dramatically, but like a thread slowly unraveling from the fabric of your life? An insomnia that doesn't come from exhaustion, but from a wordless question. A disenchantment with everything that once seemed solid, career, relationships, even your own certainties. This isn't a sign that you're losing your way. It's a sign that you're beginning to see it. Spiritual awakening isn't a destination. It's not a prize for the enlightened, nor a goal to be achieved with discipline. It's an organic movement of the soul, like the tides, sometimes receding, sometimes advancing, but always clearing the shore of what no longer belongs to the sea. And, like the tides, it doesn't obey its clock. It arrives when the inner silence can no longer be ignored. Before any visible collapse, there's a whisper. It's a knot in your chest upon waking, a feeling of unreality in the face of conversations that once seemed normal, a weariness that sleep doesn't cure, because it's not the body that's exhausted, but the soul, from playing a role that was never yours. At this stage, you still believe the problem is out there, with your boss, your partner, or society. But little by little, you realize that dissatisfaction doesn't change direction. It follows you. Because it's not about the world. It's about the lens through which you see it. And that lens, made of conditioning, fears, and identifications, begins to crack. This is the first sign. No longer reacting, but feeling. Feeling that there's a silence behind your thoughts, like the sky behind the clouds. And for the first time, you suspect, maybe I'm not the storm. Maybe I'm the sky. When the ego's wall cracks, it's not out of weakness. It's out of maturity. The ego isn't a villain. It's a tired guardian who believed its role was to protect you from the world. It built walls with bricks of who you should be. A good son, a successful professional, a perfect partner. But one day, those walls become a prison. Then everything begins to crumble. Not because you failed, but because your soul refuses to continue living a lie. Relationships empty. Projects lose their luster. Even faith in ancient truths dissolves. This isn't chaos, it's cleansing. The universe isn't taking something from you. It's giving you back to yourself. This collapse isn't mental, it's visceral. It comes as crying for no reason, as insomnia, as a void that no distraction can fill. It's the body saying, stop running. It's time to feel. Because awakening doesn't happen only in the mind. It passes through the womb of emotions and the flesh of existence. After the collapse comes emptiness. Not the emptiness of despair, but the emptiness of space being created. It's the death of the ego, not a physical death, but the dissolution of the story you told yourself. Labels fall away: nationality, religion, success, trauma. And for a time, you don't know who you are. This is the darkest and most sacred night, because it is in it that the observer is born, not as a concept, but as a presence. You realize that you can be sad without being sadness. You can be afraid without being fear. There is a self that witnesses, that breathes, that remains, even when everything falls apart. This is the turning point. Before, you were your thoughts. Now, you have thoughts. This small shift changes everything, because for the first time, you have a choice. You no longer need to react. You can respond with awareness, not with conditioning. With the awakened observer, the search arises, but not as before. Now you don't look for ready-made answers. You seek the courage to live the questions. You read not to accumulate knowledge, but to feel if something resonates in your heart. You meditate not to achieve peace, but to hear what silence has to say. This search is visceral, not intellectual. It's like thirst in the desert. There's no point talking about water. You have to drink. You experience practices, teachings, and paths not to find absolute truth, but to discover what is true for you here and now. And little by little you realize truth is not something found outside. It's something you recognize within, like an echo of an ancient memory, of what you always knew but forgot at birth. When the inner resonance strengthens, something new emerges, the authentic self, not as an ideal, but as a raw, imperfect, living presence. You begin to feel uncomfortable pretending, agreeing out of fear, smiling out of obligation, living out of inertia. Authenticity is not rebellion. It is fidelity. Fidelity to your essence, the one that existed before the rules of the world. It's the innocence of childhood, but now conscious. You don't want to change the world. You want to stop betraying yourself. And that takes courage, because the world doesn't reward those who fail to interpret. Relationships transform or end. Careers lose their meaning. Even the way we dress, speak, and occupy space changes, not out of rebellion, but out of a need for coherence. In this process, old wounds resurface, not to hurt, but to be seen. You cry not out of weakness, but for release. Your body trembles, dreams, feels chills, because it is reorganizing itself energetically. This isn't spiritual madness. It's purging. It's the body saying, I'm aligning with who you are now. The final stage isn't an end. It's a way of being. We call it alignment, but it's not perfection. It's integration. You accept that there is shadow and that it is also part of the light. You feel anger, fear, doubt, and you don't condemn yourself for it, because you know being human isn't about transcending humanity, but embracing it fully. In this alignment, compassion arises naturally, not as a moral duty, but as understanding. Everyone is doing the best they can with their awareness. You forgive not because others deserve it, but because you no longer want to carry the weight of separation. And this forgiveness begins with you. You become the father, the mother, the friend you always needed. You offer yourself what you once sought in others: acceptance, patience, unconditional love. And in this gesture, you heal generations. But the alignment doesn't stop with you. It expands. You feel the tree not as an object, but as a presence. The wind not as a phenomenon, but as a whisper. Even the silence between things gains meaning. Interconnection ceases to be philosophy. It becomes breathing. Awakening is full of contradictions, and it is in them that its deepest coherence lies. You feel more alone than ever, and at the same time, more connected to everything. You lose everything and gain everything. You want to disappear, and at the same time, you have never been so present. This is not confusion, it is maturity, because the soul does not think in opposites. It lives in totality, and in this totality, even pain has its place. Even error is a path. Even silence speaks. There is no arrival. There is only the continuous movement of undressing and dressing, of dying and being reborn, of losing and finding, always closer to what was already yours from the beginning. Awakening doesn't make you special. It makes you truly human, capable of loving without possession, of acting without the need for results, of being here, now, without running away, without controlling, without pretending. And in this, you discover the simplest and most revolutionary of secrets. You are already what you seek. You just needed to stop searching outside to realize you've always been home. Awakening has no stairs. It has tides. And you are the ocean. If something here resonated with you, even if it was just a passage, a phrase, a feeling, that's no coincidence. It's your own heart recognizing the truth you already carry within. You don't need to have all the answers now. You don't need to have achieved awakening, nor to be at peace all the time. You just need to stay honest with yourself. Because it's in this raw honesty that transformation happens, not loudly, but like the tide, gentle, inevitable, and profound. If this video touched you, don't let this moment pass you by. Share it with someone who's also waking up. Leave a word, a phrase, an I too in the comments, because knowing we're not alone is already a healing act. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider hitting the button. Not for me, but for you. Because videos like this exist to remind you of who you truly are, especially on days when the world tries to convince you otherwise. Remember, you're not lost. You're finding yourself, and at the end of it all, you're already home.